let's have a look at the AWS tools that you'll be using as soon as you get your AWS student account. We're going to look at 3 different ways that you can interact with the AWS Cloud Service Platform. The first is the AWS Management Console. This is an easy way to access the various services. It is secure, it's web-based, it can work on your browser, there's a mobile app support for it. It gives you easy access. It's basically the pointy-clicky access method for AWS services. It also gives you access to a lot of documentation and different learning materials, seminars, various things like that. And you'll be able to see all the different things that you have in your account. So once you start adding things like virtual machines, different services, storage objects in S3, you're going to want to be able to manage and monitor what's going on. You can do this through the console. You can customize it, organize everything the way you want to see it. And it's basically your console for controlling everything that you own. This is not necessarily the only way you could get access to AWS resources because you can actually get access to ones you don't necessarily own, but where you've been given access to them by the owner. And we'll talk about that later when we talk about their IAM system. This also gives you access to what they call their marketplace. And this is a catalog of all the different software from third parties. It also gives you access to all of their software services as well. So I'm just showing here a screenshot of my AWS Management Console from my account. This is just after you log in. You'll go to this console. You'll see it has the main part that you're really interested in usually is the AWS services block, where you can find the various services that you are using or want to use and set up. And it also shows you where you have recently visited. So you can see that there's the IAM system, which you'll learn more about, which manages identities and authentication. And EC2, which will be the virtual machines, the computing part of your system, and S3, which is the storage. So all of these you can click on and get immediate access to. So in this, I clicked on the EC2 to get the EC2 dashboard, and it gives an overview when you see the resources section where it talks about how many VMs I have. So I have 2 running in this particular region, which is the Central Canadian region. I have various key pairs where I've organized things. I have security groups, and it gives me an overview of what I have. It also has a place where I can look to launch more instances. It also has a health dashboard where I can see if everything is running optimally. If I then click on looking at my running instances, it pops up a window here where I have the instances. I have 2 of them running, and I've clicked on one so you can see all of its different information. And you can drill down deeper. You can look at the status. You can monitor it. You can do a whole bunch of things with it. It gives the instance ID. You'll see in the type. So that's the type of processor that I've used for these various instances, where they're running, those sorts of things. So all of this allows you to do various actions, start, stop. The instances do all sorts of various things, add more. So this is your gateway to actually launching instances via your console. If I had clicked on S3, this is storage. And so what comes up first are the buckets. I've redacted some of this because this is my own private account, and there were a couple of things in there that I just didn't want to expose. So sorry about that. But what you can see is that the first page that comes up will be the buckets, and we'll talk about that in our in week 2 when we look at storage. But what it does here is it gives me access to it. It gives me things about their creation, dates. I can create a bucket, and if I click on one of those buckets, I'll see what objects I've stored in those buckets. The next way to get access to what's going on in your AWS account is through the CLI, the command line interface. And throughout this module, I've got links to various documentation and installation sites for all of these services. So with the command line interface, you can interact with the services from the shell. So in your shell, whether you're running Linux, Mac OS, or Windows, you can bring up a shell and you can interact with your AWS account through various commands. So you can run the commands, and they're functionally equivalent for the most part to anything you can get in the browser. So you can do almost anything in the command line that you could do in the browser. It's just a different modality. And so I've got here the installation guide. One thing I want to point out is please install version 2 of the CLI. That's the latest version, and you'll see they keep mentioning if you're on version 1 how to upgrade, but you're probably going from scratch, so please install version 2 on whether you're on Linux, Mac OS, or Windows. You can get that running. There also is a Docker image of it, and we'll talk more about containers later in the course. So here's some of the important links that you should check out. There's various guides to CLI that tell you how to set things up and what you can do with CLI. There's also, I've given a link for installing it. And as I said, make sure you get version 2. The method for communicating with your AWS resources, that the main one that we're going to use in the course, is the Python SDK. It's called Boto 3. I've put a link here to a quick start guide, and it is really a very quick way to get up and running with Boto 3. So it enables you to write Python scripts so you can create, configure, and manage AWS services. Obviously, you're gonna be doing a lot of this with EC2 and S3. We'll start with S3, the storage, and that's going to be in your first assignment. You're going to be using this SDK. So I would suggest that you make sure that you can install it and run it, and that you understand the API that it is instantiating. So for installing it, I've got a link which gives you a straightforward guide to installing it. I would be running Python 3 and installing Boto 3, the latest version of it. I've also put links to some guides and documentation, the quick start guide, and then they have a huge set of documentation. This is a very, very well documented SDK. There's lots of sample programs out there. There's lots of code. There's many, many questions that have been put out there, and people have answered them. So please go and explore, but get into this SDK as soon as possible. So if you go to the quick start link, it's very easy. You can just pip install. So it's not that difficult to do. Just do the basic, pip install Boto 3. It'll give you the latest version. That's what we're going to be using. But please get in there, download it, polish up your Python skills, because you're going to be needing it in this course. So, as soon as you can, get Boto 3 installed, and this will help you starting from week 1 in the course.